Hello, I'm Sarah Lewis Belcher, attorney, author, and creator of The Change Agents. The Change Agents spread positive messages about what we like in the world and don't want impacted by climate change, and give tips on what we can do to slow the warming. Today, we're continuing the Change Agents interview series, which highlight people and companies who are walking the walk and making a difference in the climate fight. I'm very pleased to welcome Robby Golden as our second guest for the Change Agents interviews. Robby, thank you so much for being part of this series.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to do this interview with you.
Yeah, this should be fun. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So Robby is the founder and craftsman of Golden Coast Burls, live edge furniture fashioned from burls found in the forest. No trees are harmed in his sourcing, and for each purchase, a donation is made to the nonprofit 8 Billion Trees to plant more trees. Robby's vision is to bring beauty and nature into people's homes and businesses, while at the same time preserving nature and promoting action in the battle against deforestation and climate change. Robby's based in Santa Barbara, California, which also contributes to his perspective in the climate fight, particularly after the fires in the state the last few years. I also want to credit Robby for coming up with the idea for the Change Agents Challenge, which is an individual scoring system for measuring our actions in the climate fight, and it's accessible on the Change Agents website, climatechangeagents.com, at the Take Action tab. So Robby, thank you for your assistance with that challenge. That was fun to work together and to come up with that.
Very welcome.
So Robby, please give us the background on how your interest in climate change originated and your experience in this arena.
I'd be happy to. I think initially my interest in climate change started as a younger man and a passion for the natural world. I think a lot of people probably share that sentiment. Some of my best memories as a younger person were with my father, just, camping all around the country and fishing and backpacking and just my experiences in nature. We would go to Alaska, Northern California to go fishing and camping, and we'd camp out in the desert and backpack the Sierras. So, some of my best memories are tied to those events. And I think that's when my love affair and passion to the natural world kind of started. As I became older, I recognized the events that were happening in the world, and I wanted to kind of preserve the natural world that I had experienced for, future generations. And even at this point, from a more contemporary perspective, ourselves. And so I developed an interest in climate change and kind of dedicated my studies to in college to climate change and deforestation, and I ended up majoring in physical geography, earth system science, and environmental studies. So that was sort of kind of how it got started.
Nice. And I can totally relate to you as far as growing up in nature. I think that does really shape a lot of people's perspective coming up. It really becomes part of you. So there's no way to minimize the impact of those experiences on young people. So how was Golden Coast Burls born?
Sort of a kind of a unique, funny story, actually. A couple years ago, I was sitting in the living room with my grandfather and my uncle, and we were just kind of sitting there, just spending time together and chatting it up. And my grandfather had this kind of old, crappy burlwood table at his house, and it was nothing fancy or elegant, but it had just been sitting there collecting dust for decades. But it was a really nice kind of alluring piece of wood, and I was talking with my uncle, who is a painting contractor, a talented one at that, and I had asked him if he'd ever seen those live edge resin tables made out of redwood that were very kind of alluring and inspiring. And he told me that indeed he had, and that he knew how to do it, and he said he'd offer to show me. So we ended up pulling that crappy table out of the house, and right there in the driveway, we started working on it. And, we were sanding it and finishing it. And, it's hours and hours of work, but, we got that first coat on there, and we ended up taking it to my uncle's house to kind of keep working on it. And it was definitely an experience, and there was some trial and error there, but
Sure.
after like several applications and a bunch of labor hours, we kind of made something that surprised us both. And the end product was pretty beautiful, and I was pretty happy with it. And that's sort of when it kind of became a passion and hobby. And I decided that I kind of wanted to keep doing it. I actually took the table back myself to work on it even more and put other applications on it. And then it was my grandfather's 94th birthday, and I ended up bringing the table back to him. I don't know that he expected to ever get it back, but I brought it back to him, the finished product, for his 94th birthday, and he was just completely ecstatic. He thought it was the most beautiful thing. And just seeing his reaction kind of solidified everything that I had been thinking, and that's essentially how it got started.
Wow, that's so cool. That's a great story, a great beginning too. So inspiring. So how do you find the materials for the tables and the other things you make, and what's your process for deciding what you're going to do with them?
There's actually a place that we've always gone to go fishing in Northern California, and they have a couple, roadside businesses up there. And there's this one guy that has just these amazing pieces that he gets, and most of them are, from reclaimed redwood burls. And when I say reclaimed, it's usually trees that have already been logged or cut down decades ago, and they're essentially just cutting out the stump or the roots to.
Oh, and they just leave them in the forest?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Or, sometimes, let's say somebody has a tree in their yard or something like that, and they get a permit to cut it down for, either safety reasons, or they're, doing development, rather than just grind up the tree and throw it back in the ground, we can use that to, create beautiful pieces of furniture. So, I have several different suppliers, but the one that I work with quite a bit is up there in Northern California, about 14 hours from where I am.
Wow.
So actually, I got a big old trailer that I drive up there every couple months, and get the materials. And he has all kinds of just beautiful pieces. And so I enjoy selecting different pieces to kind of make that, I think will serve as both beautiful and functional pieces of furniture. But I also want folks to know that, we do custom orders as well. So if anybody needs a certain type of coffee table or dining table, or they enjoy live edge shelving, we can produce all those types of products. Recently, we've started doing, more conventional pieces as well, but we're still applying our model that, for every piece that we do, no matter the size, we're gonna, work with our partner to plant 10 trees for every single project.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So if someone has an idea of what they would like, they can let you know, and then you'll sort of be on the lookout for a piece that might fit that, even if you might not have it available right then.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have multiple suppliers. I also have suppliers that are more local to me as well. And I've been doing this long enough now that I can, pretty much bring to life what somebody's inspired by. So yeah, we can work with you to, develop a custom piece. If you know the dimensions or the type of wood, we can even do custom finishes, and offer different sheens. And yeah, there's a lot of options. We can change the base around and put different types of legs on there.
Right.
So I like to work with people to produce something that really excites them and makes them happy. But we also have what I like to call ready-made furniture as well, where, I kind of get my hands on some pieces that I think are really nice. And, people and folks are able to purchase those pieces right off of our website, or I can talk to them about it.
Wow. So cool. And here I had pictured that it's much more productive to have suppliers, but I'm picturing that you had to go out into the forest and find these pieces yourself. but that clearly is not the most efficient way to, if you have to spend the time to do that, to be able to produce the furniture also.
The thing about that one is, and we actually do that sometimes as well, to be honest with you. If I
Uh-huh.
hear of a friend of mine that is cutting down a tree, you know, they always are giving me a call. And I actually have kind of people coming out of the woodworks telling me about, you know, some slabs that they have, or, you know, a tree that's cut down. So that works out nicely because we're essentially able to recycle these trees to make beautiful pieces of furniture out of them. And, you know, I have gone out there and cut some pieces myself. Obviously, you know, reclaimed pieces, but
Mhm.
um, a lot of people don't know this, but, you know, in order to use a piece of wood for furniture, you know, especially something that's natural that comes out of the ground like that, the piece needs to dry for about 2 to 3 years before it can be used to make furniture. So, you know,
Wow.
obviously storage becomes a problem, and there's very few people that have, you know, the right amount of storage space to be able to, you know, house all these materials. The only other option is to use a wood drying kiln, which actually, you know, expeditiously dries the wood, but even that process takes several weeks and can be energy intensive and expensive. And I think there's probably, you know, within about 80 miles of me, I think there's probably only 1 or 2 large wood drying kilns, so they're not easy to come by.
Wow, that does put it in perspective. But I love the fact that you use reclaimed wood. So it's wood that otherwise would not have a function necessarily other than to go back to the earth. So that's really something to be able to like save the wood and turn it into something beautiful that people can use.
Exactly.
So you mentioned that for every purchase you donate to 8 billion trees. I'm wondering, how did that partnership start? And you mentioned the number of trees, but how does it work in a little bit more detail?
Yeah. So I kind of, you know, just from my own engagement, I kind of came across these guys and saw what they were doing, and they're planting trees all over the world in kind of distressed regions like Tanzania and the Amazon, and places that were getting, you know, pretty impacted by deforestation. And I liked what they're doing. And, you know, not only are they planting indigenous tree species in these areas, but they're, you know, hiring locals to, you know, implement these projects. So they're not only, you know, helping the environment, but also contributing to the local economy, which I really thought was such a great model, and I appreciated. And I decided to get in touch with them, and I ended up talking to one of their founders, and you know, we created a relationship and decided to work together. And it's been really fantastic. But, you know, I figured, you know, rather than just using reclaimed materials to produce furniture, you know, I wanted to have much more of an impact. So, you know, for every small, tiny piece of a tree that we use to create a project, we're able to plant 10 trees in its stead, which is kind of exciting to me. And so, you know, my commitment, my personal commitment is that for every single project, we plant 10 trees, whether it's a tiny little accent table or 12-foot dining table. You know, we make sure that those trees are planted. And, you know, my ultimate goal is not only to have a business that is carbon neutral, but I would like to be carbon negative. And,
Yeah.
you know, obviously the more people that we reach and the more furniture that we build, the more trees that are going to be planted. So, you know, hopefully it kind of snowballs and everything builds on each other. And, you know, we have a lot of success planting trees all over the world. It definitely kind of gets me up in the morning. It kind of, you know, distinguishes you know, just, it's one thing to be, you know, reclaimed or sustainable, but to proactively try to make a difference and to change the paradigm and to integrate that into your businesses, ultimately what I'm after. And I hope that, you know, we're setting an example for, you know, other like-minded businesses that, you know, you can still be proficient and have a company that generates, you know, healthy revenue, and still give back to the world, and not only give back, but, you know, hopefully create change.
Yep, amazing. And that's where it's at this point in time. It's like the models seem to have been, it's either or. Either you are able to make money doing something, or you do something to help the environment, and it's not mutually exclusive. And that's what I think one of the messages that the change agents wants to get out there. And I think it's one of the reasons that we're talking today, because they think you've got a great model and great message. So I wanted to bring that out so folks can realize you can do both. Do something meaningful, do something to help the environment, and do something that makes a little bit of money. So it's a win-win all the way around. So I maybe should have asked this question earlier on, but what's a live edge product? And you've mentioned tables, shelves, and maybe you could give us a rundown on all the different types of live edge items that you create.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I think a lot of people, they have an image of their mind when they think of live edge, and then a lot of people hear that term and they're like, what in the world does that mean? I have no idea. So, to me, a live edge piece of furniture is something that honors the natural lines of the piece of wood that that the project ultimately comes from. So, rather than conventional planing and cutting, wood into planks or straight cut slabs, essentially we're using either burls or what are referred to as slabs, where the natural exterior lines of the wood are being honored and used, so it looks much more authentic and organic and natural. Usually when we're working with these type of pieces, we apply very beautiful and opulent finishes to kind of bring out all the natural character and color of the wood, and that's what I think of as a live edge product. I know that has become a bit of a buzzword and sort of a contemporary term over the last several years, but there's a lot of different types of live edge furniture. I like to refer to my work as natural edge furniture.
Perfect. Okay. So what would you say to encourage people to buy a natural edge product rather than some of the other wooden options that are out there? You've kind of described it a little bit, that answers that, but to more directly, why do you think it's more beneficial?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's more beneficial, but it's just an aesthetic. It can be sort of a preference.
Gotcha.
To me, it's sort of like bringing a piece of the natural world indoors.
Right.
I think that a lot of people sort of associate live edge furniture with sort of like a rustic aesthetic and look, but they actually, to me, they can fit into just about any design or aesthetic or background, whether it's coastal, contemporary. It's like somebody's hungry, somebody's to walk.
Yeah, I think they've been revived. Sorry about that, everybody. So sorry, Robby.
Oh, no worries about it. I got a couple also. But anyways, yeah, no, I think that, it could really work with just about any type of background. A lot of our work kind of fits into that, coastal, contemporary, beachy look. We make driftwood furniture and use lighter type woods. There can be a beautiful, elegant contrast when you use the live edge furniture and sort of like industrial modern backgrounds, kind of like commercial spaces where, you kind of have, stark, lighter colors, whites and metallic features, but then you kind of contrast it with a beautiful piece of natural wood and a natural piece of furniture. For example, we'll do dining tables or conference tables if it's a business. So I think they can fit nicely into all types of different backgrounds. Obviously, kind of that farmhouse, lake cabins, ski resort. That's another good one for more of kind of our rustic designs. But I also want people to know that, I've recently started, doing custom furniture as well. So, we don't have to do, just live edge type furniture. You know, I enjoy it and I think it's very beautiful and inspiring. But we can also do more conventional pieces as well. I recently just finished a 10.5-foot walnut dining table that was more conventional with straight lines and, you know, something that you'd probably find out of a catalog or Restoration Hardware. And, you know, we're happy to do pieces like that as well. And you know, my commitment is to integrate my business model into every piece that I do. So, you know, we'll still plant 10 trees for every project that we do. But either way, you know, our goal is to inspire people with our work and our furniture. You know, I kind of take an artisanal approach to this, and I want people to see a piece of furniture and just be in awe and just really love what they're looking at and be excited about it. You know, I have about a 6.5-foot, you know, redwood coffee table in my own home that I, you know, created. And not to toot my own horn, but every time I look at that, you know, I still am inspired by it. And it just looks so amazing to me, just sitting there in my living room. And, you know, I always get compliments on it. And, you know, furniture doesn't have to just be in the background. It can actually be a, you know, a piece of art and something that inspires you. And, you know, that's kind of what excites me about it.
For sure, because regardless of what is ultimately done with it, it's still wood. It's still a natural product, and you can highlight that in so many different ways. And no matter how you fashion it or what you're doing with it, it's still a piece of natural something in your house, which says a lot. So we can all admire that and have that beauty right within our living and working spaces. So I'm wondering, have you noticed an increased interest in or demand for sustainable products over the time that you've been doing this?
Yeah, you know, my background actually is in renewable energy and sustainability. You know, I come from the corporate world, and I have a lot of experience with sustainability and renewable energy. And, you know, I think a lot of businesses, you know, the terminology that we use in the industry was greenwashing, but a lot of businesses like to promote that they're either sustainable or reclaimed or environmentally conscientious, which is great, and you know, that's commendable. But you know, I think a lot of times it ends up just being a drop in the bucket. For me, I wanted to do something that was much more proactive and, you know, much more integrated into our business, which is why, you know, I really like the idea of potentially being carbon negative and not only just giving back, but sort of, you know, erasing some of the damage that's already been done. Obviously, there's got to be a lot more companies besides me that think similarly and, you know, want to get on board. But, you know, I think it's collectively we're becoming much more aware of climate change and the science behind it and what's occurring. And I think it's very real and it's very tangible, and people are starting to see it and kind of open up their eyes a little bit more. We got a lot of work to do. It's not going to be expeditious by any means, but you know, I think people would benefit to recognize the severity of what's going on around us. And you know, hopefully there's more, you know, people like you know, in your organization that are, you know, becoming involved and making changes themselves and leading by example, and which is exactly what I intend to do, you know, from a business perspective and also as a homeowner too. But we have a lot of work to do, and I hope that collectively and together we can all start doing it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. So you have to start somewhere, and I am hopeful that with the model that you're setting, you'll inspire others to do the same. And it's just so encouraging to know that it can be done, regardless of the scale, big scale, small scale, starting out, it can be done. And the main thing is we just need to do it, get started and keep going. So that's a good segue into the California connection. So California has been a state at the forefront of so many environmental initiatives. And now, having been so hard hit by forest fires, I'm wondering how living and working there have given you insight and perspective into climate change and the need to do something. You're right on the hot no pun intended, but you're right at the forefront of so much going on there, and so much reinforcing the fact that this is happening. Things are changing. Our climate is warming, and it has these impacts.
Yeah, you know, we're kind of on the forefront of a lot of natural disasters around here, particularly fires. And you know, don't get me wrong, natural disasters are obviously a naturally occurring phenomenon. They're going to happen whether we're here or not. But seeing all this on a regular basis makes it more tangible, and especially when considering kind of the severity of these events, you know, compared to earlier history, it's recognizable that things are changing and things are getting worse, and if nothing else, at least more frequent.
Right.
And I think there's a good amount of substantiation that kind of shows that a lot of this is, you know, a direct result of anthropogenic impact and, you know, climate change. So, you know, for example, we've had a lot of fires here in Santa Barbara. Every few years we have, you know, a pretty major fire, and several years ago we had a very big mudslide that took out a very affluent community. And I think everybody knows about Paradise and everything that's happened up there. And you know, these are very real phenomena that impact people's lives. You know, in some cases, everything has changed. You know, their homes that they've spent decades, you know, trying to, you know, obtain, and you know, their family, and just life as they know it just essentially almost erased. And
Right.
a lot of times, you know, insurance claims and all that don't come through, and it's, you know, the people have gone from having a lot to almost nothing. And that's just crazy that that can actually happen and be induced by, you know, natural phenomena like that. So I guess it's a long-winded way to say that, you know, it just makes it much more tangible, and, you know, kind of is a little bit of a slap in the face as to, you know, what's actually happening, and that, you know, we are in part responsible for some of this. And so, you know, if nothing else, I think it just galvanizes myself and, you know, hopefully others to do what we can to kind of reverse some of this impact, and, you know, set us on a better course.
Yeah, it definitely is a wake-up call to see it. And I mean, the whole country, even if you weren't in California or Oregon, you felt some impacts of it as the smoke came all the way even here to the Northeast. Very, very minimal impact, but there's really nothing like actually experiencing it in that way to just make you realize this is here, and I want to do something so that we can try to lessen what these impacts are going to be over time. So Robby, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, we're currently looking at some funding, and we're hoping to expand our operation. You know, we're hoping to get a larger commercial space, and so that we can produce more pieces and hopefully work with more folks. So yeah, we'd love it if you could help us, you know, spread the word to the Change Agents Network. And you know, we'd love to kind of expand our operations so that ultimately, you know, we can have more of an impact by planting more trees and working with more folks to, you know, create inspiring pieces of furniture for their home and business. So we'd love to, you know, reach out to your network, and we'd love to work with anybody that might be interested. We do actually ship nationally all over the country, so we can ship pieces all over, and we're happy to, you know, hear from anybody who is interested in working with us.
Great. And speaking from experience, the tables are beautiful. I have one. It made it here, no problem whatsoever, with great directions how to put the legs on, and it's just really a really nice natural addition to my home. So I highly recommend your products.
Thank you.
And it's nice that people can help fight climate change in this way. I mean, things you need anyway, furniture, things to grace your home with, you might as well buy them from a place that's going to make a positive difference in the climate fight. So you can kill two birds with one stone when you might not necessarily otherwise be doing that. So it's, as I say, it's a win-win. So
That's what we're after.
yep, you got it. So I have really enjoyed this conversation. As I said, I've been looking forward to it, and I appreciate your perspective. And I really thank you for taking the time to be on the Change Agents interviews, and love seeing that you and your company are making such a positive difference to fight climate change. And I do want to thank our audience for watching and or listening. And I'm hopeful that these discussions will inspire others to find their own path to help our planet in this fight. So I'm going to try to share my screen to give everybody our contact information so that you can reach out to us if you have any comments, questions. If you have ideas for other interviews, let me know. If you want to contact Robby about products, feel free to reach out to him. Check his website, definitely check his website. You can see what things are currently available. And thank you, everyone. Be well and be a change agent.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Love what you're doing. Keep up the good work with the Change Agents.
Thank you.